Hello my friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Ian with Out of This World Reader, and today's little adventure is going to be my most anticipated releases for the first 4 months of 2022. I thought that this would be kind of the best route to take because some books aren't announced yet and they might be announced later in the year. So rather than doing kind of one giant most anticipated releases for the whole year, I'm going to split it up into 3 volumes covering 4 months for this year. So these first few books are going to cover the first 4 months, January, February, March, and April. And I know that January is almost over, but I think the couple that I did have from January are towards the end. But here in this video, I'll kind of just read the description on Goodreads or wherever I found them. That way I kind of don't butcher and give you the most information. And these are ones that I'm really interested in. And I'm hoping to kind of do a little bit of diving deeper into them with reviews and stuff like that. So I think without further ado, let's hop in with all the books released in January 1st. This first one I actually already picked up, and I'm really excited because it's a little bit of steampunk and a very kind of seems to be interesting magic system, and that is Engines of Empire by R.S. Ford. But this is a new epic fantasy, and it kind of combines a little bit of steampunk, which initially drew me to it because I'm a fan of steampunk. But it says the nation of Torwin is run on the power of industry, and industry is run by the guilds. Chief among them are the Hawkspurs, whose responsibility it is to keep the gears of the empire turning. That's exactly why matriarch Rosamund Hawkspur sends each of her heirs to the far reaches of the nation. Canal, the eldest son, is dispatched to the distant frontier to earn his stripes in the military. It is here that he faces a threat he could never have seen coming. The first rumblings of revolution. Tyretta is a sorceress with the ability to channel the power of the Pyrostone, the magical resource that fuels the Empire's machines. She is sent to the mines to learn more about how the Pyrostone is harvested, but instead she finds the dark horrors of industry and the Empire would prefer to keep hidden. The youngest, Vol. Wren, is a talented artificer, and finds himself acting as a guide to a mysterious foreign emissary. Soon after, he is framed for a crime he never committed, a crime that could start a war. So I'm really interested to see kind of how this revolution and rebellion will kind of add in with these machines and how this Pyrostone will kind of play into just the whole magic system. And I'm really excited for kind of the sorceress kind of perspective the most because I love magic. But that is the first one, and it is already out. So if you do find that intriguing, you can find a copy somewhere soon. And then we have How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, which is released on January 18th of 2022. If that is correct, I get all these from kind of Google and Goodreads, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. So it's almost kind of relevant to today because of all the kind of climate change effects going on, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to pick it up because it involves like a little bit of a plague coming out of an iceberg. So it just kind of makes me wonder what's like in these icebergs that are melting today. So I think this is going to be very interesting. So the premise is, in 2030, a grieving archaeologist arrives in the Arctic Circle to continue the work of his recently deceased daughter at the Baga Gada crater, where researchers are studying long-buried secrets now revealed in melting permafrost, including the perfectly preserved remains of a girl who appears to have died of an ancient virus. Once unleashed, the Arctic plague will reshape life on Earth for generations to come, quickly traversing the globe, forcing humanity to devise a myriad of moving and inventive ways to embrace possibility in the face of tragedy. In a theme park designed for terminally ill children, a cynical employee falls in love with a mother desperate to hold onto her affected son. A heartbroken scientist searching for a cure finds a second chance at fatherhood when one of his test subjects, a pig, develops a capacity for human speech. A widowed painter and her teenage granddaughter embark on a cosmic quest to locate a new home planet. From funerally skyscrapers to hotels for the dead to interstellar starships, Sequoia Nagamatsu takes readers on a wildly original and compassionate journey spanning continents, centuries, and even celestial bodies to tell a story about the resilience of human spirit. So it sounds like it combines like several different perspectives and how they all kind of play in and kind of are affected by this Arctic virus and Arctic plague. So I'm very interested to see how it kind of will compare to climate change kind of going on today and just the pandemic that we face today, and see if there's any kind of connections to it. And then we have probably one of my most anticipated releases for this year, and it's It's pretty cool because it comes out in January and I'm hoping to pick it up very soon. And that is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. It's said to be kind of like the Titanic meets The Shining. And I haven't read The Shining yet, but I did enjoy the movie The Titanic. And it's in deep space. And if you know me, I love just space and everything about it. I'm also very afraid of space because of just the unknown and what's out there. But also this year I've been trying to get into more horror. So I think if we do a little bit of sci-fi horror, maybe that'll kind of kick it off and get me more into the genre. It's a sci-fi horror novel in which a woman and her crew board a decades-lost luxury cruiser and find wreckage of a nightmare that hasn't yet ended. A ghost ship, a salvage crew, unspeakable horrors. Claire Kovalik is days away from being unemployed, made obsolete when her beacon repair crew picks up a strange distress signal. With nothing to lose and no desire to return to Earth, Claire and her team decide to investigate. What they find at the other end of the signal is a shock, the Aurora, a famous luxury space liner that vanished on its maiden tour of the solar system more than 20 years ago. A salvage claim like this could set Claire and her crew up for life. But a quick trip through the Aurora reveals something isn't right. Whispers in the dark, flickers of movement, words scrawled in blood. Claire must fight to hold on to her sanity and find out what really happened on the Aurora before she and her crew meet the same ghostly fate. So just reading that kind of made me get a little chilly and kind of eerie. This set the atmosphere already, and I'm hoping to pick it up as soon as it comes out and when I get my hands on a copy. But I forgot to mention, but that comes out on January 25th, which is not that far away as well. And then on February 1st, we have This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi. And I've heard great things about this author, but I didn't really want to kind of get into her other kind of popular series. I believe it's like The Shatter Me. But this one kind of blends Persian mythology and into something that I've always kind of wanted to get into. You know me, I love mythology and everything, but I feel like a lot of books today kind of focus on just Greek mythology or Roman mythology, and I really want to get into more kind of the not well-known ones, and I think this one kind of blends Persian mythology, and that is one I've always been interested in. So I'm hoping that this author will kind of take that and just make it a blast of a read. But it's going to be a trilogy, and it says, to all the world, Eliza is a disposable servant, not the long-lost heir to an ancient Jinn kingdom forced to hide in plain sight. The crown prince Cameron has heard the prophecies foretelling the death of his king, but he never could have imagined that the servant girl with the strange eyes, the girl he can't put out of his mind, would one day soon uproot his kingdom and the world. So it almost kind of sounds like The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Shuri, which is an adult fantasy, which I did enjoy, kind of having a servant girl kind of help a princess, but instead maybe helping, well, it doesn't sound like she's helping because she's uprooting the kingdoms, but I think it will be a blast of a read. And then on February 15th, we have The Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham. And he is the co-author of The Expanse, which is a space opera that I really want to dive into. I actually have the first book and I'm hoping to get into and finish the series this year, if that's accomplishable, because there's some big books, and I think there's like a total of 8. But I think this might be his first venture into fantasy for a while. I think he's been spending most of his time on The Expanse, and I can see why, because it's very expansive, but expansive, you see what I did there? But also because of just the great reviews, so I think he's just been pouring out his heart into these, and now he's kind of going back into fantasy, or kind of starting again in fantasy. It's got a blurb by Joe Abercrombie, which is an author that I've heard great things about, and I really want to get into this year because of his grimdark kind of fantasy, and I think I might enjoy that genre. I don't know why, but it just seems like something that intrigues me. It says, Kithamar is a center of trade and wealth, an ancient city with long, bloody history where countless thousands live and their stories unfold. This is Alia's. When her brother is murdered, a petty thief from the slum of Long Hill sets out to discover who killed him and why. But the more she discovers about him, the more she learns about herself. And the truths she finds are more dangerous than knives. Swept up in an intrigue as deep as the roots of Kithamar, where the secrets of the lowest born can sometimes topple thrones, the story Ailes chooses will have the power to change everything. So it almost kind of sounds a little bit grimdark, but I'm very interested to see how this will kind of compare to The Expanse when I do pick that up. And then on February 22nd, we have The Justice of Kings. The early reviews that I've seen says it kind of blends a little bit of politics and a little bit of murder mystery, so it almost kind of sounds like The Helm of Midnight, which was a dark murder mystery and kind of blended into magic and fantasy. So I'm kind of intrigued to see if this one will kind of be similar to that, because I did enjoy The Helm of Midnight a lot. It was one of my kind of most surprising books that I picked up last year. So it's a new epic fantasy trilogy, follows the tales of Sir Conrad von Volt and Emperor's Justice, a detective, judge, and executioner all in one. So that's a big thing to kind of take up. As he unravels a web of secrets and lies, von Volt discovers a plot that might destroy his order once and for all, and bring down the entire empire. As an Empire's Justice, Sir Conrad von Volt, that is some name. As the Empire's Justice, Sir Conrad von Volt always has the last word. His duty is to uphold the law of the Empire using whatever tools he has at his disposal, whether it's his blade, the arcane secrets passed down from the Justice to Justice, or his wealth of knowledge of laws in the Empire. But unusually, his reputation as one of the most revered and hated justices is enough to get any job done. When von Volt, I'm not going to get enough of that name. When von Volt investigates the murder of a noblewoman, he finds his authority being challenged like he never before. As the simple cases become more complex and convoluted, he begins to pull at the threads that unravel a conspiracy that could see an end to all justices, and a beginning to lawless chaos across the empire. Very interested to see how kind of the arcane secrets will kind of play into this, but this is another one that I'm hoping that I can kind of get an early copy on, or just get my hands on a copy as soon as it comes out, because I love The Helm of Midnight so much, and I'm hoping that this one is kind of similar. And then jumping all the way into March, on the 1st we have Gallant by V.E. Schwab, and I've heard great things about the author and her Darker Shades of Magic, which is the first kind of series that I want to dive into before picking this one up. But I've read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I absolutely love that book. This one sounds a little bit of dark academia, which is a genre that I haven't, or kind of like a trope that I haven't kind of checked out very much, but maybe if I do enjoy a Darker Shades of Magic, I will pick this up as well. It says, everything casts a shadow, even the world we live in. And as with every shadow, there is a place where it must touch, a seam where the shadow meets its source. Olivia Pryor has grown up in Maryland's school for girls, and all she has of her past is her mother's journal, which seems to unravel into madness. Then a letter invites Olivia to come home to Gallant. Yet when Olivia arrives, no one is expecting her. But Olivia is not about to leave the first place that feels like home. It doesn't matter if her cousin Matthew is hostile or if she sees half-formed ghouls haunting the hallways. Olivia knows that Gallant is hiding secrets, and she is determined to uncover them. When she crosses a ruined wall at just the right moment, Olivia finds herself in a place that is Gallant, but not. The manor is crumbling, the ghouls are solid, and a mysterious figure rules over all. Now Olivia sees what has unraveled generations of her family and where her father may have come from. Olivia has always wanted to belong somewhere, but will she take her place as a Pryor, protecting our world from the master of the house, or will she take her place beside him? So actually, after reading that, it has intrigued me to pick up the Darker Shades really soon so I can get to this. I'm very interested to see how kind of these two realms will play into kind of just the decision Olivia has to make, and whether she'll stand by this master of the house or protect the kind of the humanity. But I still got enough time that I can kind of binge that whole series and then pick this one up if I did enjoy those. And the last one on this first volume is going to be The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne, which comes out, I believe, on April 12th. Got it marked on my calendar because I am so excited to pick it up. If you didn't know, The Shadow of the Gods was actually my favorite book that I read last year. And the way it ended has got me eager to pick up the second one. So I've already pre-ordered the book, and I'm waiting until it kind of arrives at my door. And when it does, I will be putting down everything, including university, and picking it up. The first one kind of followed three different perspectives. You had Orca, who's kind of a huntress on a perilous quest, and she's really secretly badass. Once you read and get farther into the book, you'll discover that she is kind of scary. Well, not scary, but she'll kill you. And then there's Elvar, who's kind of seeking some battle glory with the Battle Grim, but they're kind of like a mercenary band kind of hunting down the fallen god Bones and their children. And then Varg, who is probably one of my favorite. I think Orca and Varg are my like Elvar kind of grew on me towards the end, but Varg and Orca they really are cool. But Varg is kind of like a thrall, and he's trying to avenge his sister's death, and he joins the Blood.1, which is kind of another mercenary band, and they're kind of set on another quest. And all their kind of quests, even though they're kind of going on different pathways, they all kind of connect in the end, and it sets it up for the Hunger of the Gods. And as soon as it gets here, I will be picking it up. But those are all my most anticipated releases for these first 4 months of the year. But I'm sure that I forgot a lot. So leave down below all the ones you're excited for. But that is going to be all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next adventure. So if you did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing. But it is time for Ellie to come on here and just give you a little special message. She first wishes you to have a splendid day, but she also says that adventure is out there. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.